Good evening, class. I am Miles Smith, and I'll be going over the wild card of aviation for this ASCI 602. An overview, but going over what it takes to go into business for the airlines, where weather forecasts come from. I'll go over a brief summary of Delta Flight 191, and I'll go over some weather statistics. There are many elements that need to come together for an airline to take off. They need to get the plane. They need to maintain it. They need to get the fuel for it. They need to make routes between a destination and departure. They need to market that to customers, and then they issue tickets to their passengers, and they need to have certified air crews to fly the plane. And once that's all said and done, the day of, there comes down to one simple decision, and that is whether it's to go or no go, and that could be from a variety of factors. Weather tends to be the one that changes the most and tends to be unpredictable as far as the changes go. You could have a clear in a million day. It's beautiful outside. The weather's gorgeous. The go decision's pretty easy. On the flip side of that, you can have thunderstorms with possible tornadoes or hail, and the no-go decision's also pretty easy. My paper kind of focuses on the area in between, where the weather's not great, but it's still legal to fly, and what does it cost the airlines to ground planes, and what it costs for them to take off if something catastrophic was to happen. Weather forecasting is the science to predict the atmosphere over a certain area at a certain time. There are multiple sources of weather forecasts. The government, through their aviation weather services, provide a broad, overarching weather forecast for all general and civil aviation. It gives overview products, nothing particular to any plane or any flight. Most airlines either outsource or have a dedicated weather service cell that makes products for each flight or for each dispatcher, and then they can update those flights and dispatcher with pertinent information to them. Weather, as we know, can be very unpredictable. In some parts of the world, it's more susceptible to change than others. The area between 30 and 60 degrees latitude tend to be the most unpredictable because of depressions that form, which form mid-latitude cyclones. These mid-latitude cyclones tend to have unpredictable weather, and the United States is smack dab right in the middle of that 30-60 degrees. So we tend to have the severe and constantly changing weather. I'll go over briefly Delta Flight 191 on August 2nd, 1985. A Delta airline flew into a microburst during approach, and the only indication that they had was that the airspeed was increasing rapidly. The pilot, to his credit, realized what was going on instantly and did everything he could to try to maintain altitude, but when they entered the microburst, they were only 800 feet above the ground. They ended up not being enough. They impacted the ground 6,000 feet short of the runway, went airborne again, and hit a truck that was crossing the highway across from Dallas-Fort Worth, and then ended up coming to a stop at the end of the runway. There were a total of 137 fatalities, with one on the ground. The NTSB had an investigation on it, and even though the microburst brought the plane down, they deemed the primary cause of the accident to be pilot error, because they had been informed of isolated thunderstorms in the area, which tend to be associated with microbursts. So the Delta Airlines had to pay $24.7 million in lawsuits, and then the FAA made low-level wind shear detection systems required in all civil aviation airline flights. Between 1992 and 2001, there were a total of 149 total hull losses. The planes were completely destroyed and unusable. 15% of that was caused by weather, but that number actually could be more, because even though pilot error was deemed the primary cause for Delta 191, I would say that the microburst was the reason why the plane came down, not so much the pilot. So that number actually may be higher. In summary, I went over going into what it takes to go into business, where weather forecasts come from, the summary of Delta Flight 191, and some of the weather statistics for weather-related accidents. Thank you, and hope you all have a pleasant evening. Goodbye.